Unscripted.
Unshackled.
Uncouth.
What you're about to hear is for mature audiences only.
It's Miguel Fuller.
Holly O'Connor.
And Scotty the Body.
It's the Miguel and Holly Uncensored podcast.
Only on Hot 101.5.
Girl! Oh, hey! We is almost at the wedding time.
I can't believe it.
Girl, but before we delve into that, because we actually going to be talking to our wedding planner, because I think it's very fascinating what a wedding planner does as a person who never thought about getting married. And so when we were like, ooh, we're going to get married, I'm like, I don't know what we're doing. I don't know.
It's a pain in the ass.
There's a lot of little tiny details that you don't think about until you're actually getting married.
Yeah. So before we get to all of that, Scott, how are you doing?
I'm well. I'm ready for your day. Like, that's my biggest focus. I'm now in my bubble of trying not to get COVID before your wedding. That's my biggest priority right now. It's like this weekend, doing nothing, hanging at the house. I'll be just running outside, not going to the gym.
Running outside.
Yeah, because I'm literally like, I was supposed to be in Colorado this weekend. That was a big plan, is to like go skiing and see my friend out there. I decided, you know what? It's too close to the actual date. I would hate to bring anything back. And I feel like traveling right now is just, it's just so up in the air. So
It's up in the air. Like the flight.
Wait,
like the plane. Megan.
So you legit canceled your plans because of the wedding?
Strictly because of your wedding. I would have went. Like, because I'm vaxxed and boosted. Like, I'm good to go. So I if I got COVID, it would have been like, hopefully it wouldn't have been horrible. But I had the things to be okay.
Yeah.
But I would hate to bring it back. And God forbid, bring it to your wedding or have to miss your wedding. So I had to make the decision. I called my best friend over in Colorado. I called my brother and his fiance. They're going to go with us too. I told my girlfriend, I was like, look, we're not going to do it. Let's just not even try it. Because it would have been so many airport hops.
Are you rescheduling at some point?
I got to look at the schedule and find another date. Because the whole point was we're going to have like a 3-day weekend or something. Because Monday is MLK Day.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a little extra time. That's why I was trying to prioritize it. But I was like, it's too risky right now with this variant going all over the place.
Listen,
Let me just make it to the wedding.
I'm sorry. I'm living in a crapshoot because I have a kid that goes to school.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like I'm going to do what I can, obviously.
Yeah, but
like it's.
But listen, ain't nobody, unless you literally stay in your house, don't have any food delivered, don't breathe on anybody. Like just us being here in studio and coming, because we don't know where Ann Kelly or Danielle or Fisher or Carmen or Galvin has been, and we see them pass by them in the hallway or Claudia in the front desk. So there's nothing you can do. You just try to mitigate it as much as possible.
Right, which I guess would include not going on a plane.
And that exactly, like that's a little extra piece that I was like, I think it's almost guaranteed if I were to go, because we would have flew into Texas, and then Texas would have flew to Colorado, then back it would have flew to Charlotte. It would have just been so many moving pieces. It would have been very hard for me to kind of dip and dodge that damn variant, and I would have brought it here. And again, the biggest worry would have been I would have had to miss the wedding for that we've waited this long for, and I didn't want to risk that,
especially after I bought that $159 damn cart for you to cart down some stuff with.
Well, you know what? Now I get to be there with the cart because I won't have it.
That might have been the most annoying sound I was thinking about earlier.
That's it.
That might be it.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, no,
I got it. Okay, we need to write this down. This is the
write it down.
So
right,
I know
goes up.
So I know when to look for the sound. When Holly's like, "What's that sound that you do? That's like the most annoying sound in the world."
No, wait, it's a higher. Yeah, that's it. I can't do it.
Friday, January 14th. That's the day that I'm going to write it down on my phone.
I can't do it. Because sometimes Miguel will try to find it, like the pitch or what type of noise it is, and we're like, that's good, but that's not it. It's that. We're the most annoying people in the world.
You should see me try to do that in front of Abe.
I say that this is a thing that's been happening for 10 years now.
Yes. Absolutely.
10 years ago, Miguel got on a kick where he made that noise all the time. And we were like, God, that is the most annoying noise. And then over the years, obviously, it kind of petered out. It tailed off. And then today, I was like, what was that annoying sound?
Why, Holly?
I know. And we couldn't. That's it.
I do get it, though. When you make weird noises, it's such a good release. It feels so good.
I know.
We did it so many times.
I know.
Anyway.
And Abe, he hates, any sort of like loud, like obnoxious sounds.
Oh,
Like if there's something
no.
like
Perfect.
creaking in the car, like it's his thing. Like he can't do it.
Like a sensory thing.
Right. And so, you know me, if I get on a sound and I'm like, ah, and he'll be like, you get one motherfucking more time to do it.
Yeah.
Ah!
Yeah, yeah. I have to tell my daughter that sometimes when she's like either repeating a thing or singing a song ad nauseum. Because she's like
Yes.
that too. Like she'll
Mhm.
start just repeating like a phrase that sounds interesting to her ears. And sometimes it's an unfortunately annoying one, and I have to be like, okay. Shh, you get one more. Can I do one more? One more.
One, that's it.
And then I'll let her do it. And I'm like, okay, that's it. No more. No more. But then you can't, like, for a kid especially, she'll like automatically, like 5 minutes later, just kind of like go back to it. And I'm like, no.
Nah. Or if you're
It
36
feels-
years old, you still go back to it.
Or that.
I'll
So
be doing
anyway.
it later. Ah!
Okay.
Now to the main.
So back to
Purpose.
the main purpose of this. So October 9th of 2020,
God, that was like 8 years ago.
literally, my fiance, Abe Gadakuden, proposed to me with the help of Holly and Scotty and Bossman Will and our engineers. And you all orchestrated this big ol' surprise proposal on the air.
It
Yes,
was intense.
it was. I was sweating.
It was it was fantastic.
It was beautiful.
And so that was on a Friday, and we were already planning on going to Atlanta that weekend for Atlanta Pride, which had been canceled. So we were just hanging out with my college friends. So obviously, on the way up there, we had a lot to talk about with the proposal just happening. So we were like, do we want a wedding? What does that look like? How much money do we have? And we were like, both like, we don't know the first thing in planning a wedding. So on the way back, we started researching wedding planners in Tampa Bay. And I found like 4 that I liked, just sort of their aesthetic on
Yeah.
their Instagrams. And so I was just I had the tabs open on my laptop for like a week. And then a fan member slid up into my DMs and was like, hey, I have a partner who's a wedding planner. I listened to the show. Just from knowing your personality and hearing you on the show, I feel like you may match with this person. And I was like, all right, cool. Let me see their Instagram. And it happened to be my top choice that I had looked at when I had those
Oh.
4 tabs open.
Fate.
It was great. And that is who we have on the phone, John Campbell from John Campbell Weddings.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Uncensored podcast.
Thanks, Miguel.
Absolutely. So I
I
wanted
appreciate the introduction. I actually totally forgot that Sean had harassed you on Instagram. So that was a fun reminder.
listen, that's a good partner.
Yeah,
when
it
they
is.
are like looking out for your best interest and they're like, hey, boo.
Yeah.
Let me
No.
help you.
Yeah, he's good. He's good about that.
Now, I want real quick to sort of just help us understand your background in wedding planning. Because when we first sort of were interviewing each other, it was really fascinating because you have sort of like a unique perspective on how you got into wedding planning.
I do, yeah. So I honestly, I kind of just fell into it. I started planning some events in college, my university, and then I was planning on going back to grad school. And in the interim, I was going to take a job doing some food and beverage management and venue management at a country club, and then just kind of started meeting all these couples who were getting married, and kind of fell in love with it, and then took the plunge and started my own business. And that's the short of it, at least. And then we just celebrated 5 years. So it's been a fun, wild, crazy, and unexpected ride.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Now, I
Thank
know,
you, Holly.
Yeah. I'm excited to meet you. Yay.
now
Me too.
I'm imagining, I'm putting myself in your shoes. So it's sort of like with us. If someone asks us, like, who is your worst celebrity interview? Like, you don't want to bash people too much because we have record companies that'll be like, well, that's my artist. So we won't send other artists to be interviewed by you if you're going to bash them. So it's a delicate, fine line.
And you don't know what's going on with that artist, and like you can only go with what you see. But
Right.
at the same time, you still want to try to be honest.
So that's why some of the questions I want to ask you about
wow.
some of the people and experiences that you have gone through in wedding planning, because it's an intense process that you go through. So you're getting people at sort of the height of emotions: happy, sad, mad,
Stressed, frustrated.
and
100%.
there's money involved
Yeah.
and emotions, and it's like they feel like that's their one day. Like you only get, one swing at this to make it perfect. So what are some of the like high stress situations that you found yourself in as a wedding planner?
That's a great question. And I'm not going to lie. I get very lucky with my clients. I don't really have too many. Well, I don't think I could even say I have any horror stories. Usually I would say the most stress comes from execution, being on site on an event day. And it's usually just from other vendors, just managing people. And I would say the craziest was having like a DJ and a band leader shouting death threats at one another
Whoa!
on stage in front of guests. That was wild. That was wild.
You're like, hey, y'all, not about you today.
That was a crazy day. That's the only time I've ever had to step away for a minute and like cry during a wedding and then go back into it.
Oh my
Good
God.
Lord.
That was a wild ride. But honestly, I mean, and I say it, I make the joke, but it was like 30 seconds. We got them out of the room, let them go cool off, and then they were good for the rest of the night.
Wow.
Yeah. But I mean, people always ask about like, I tell them what I do and they're like, oh, you must deal with a lot of bridezillas. And I'm not going to lie. I'm not too worried about bridezillas. Sometimes I need to push my brides to have their bridezilla moment. Because sometimes you just need to advocate for yourself and do what you got to do to get stuff done. Usually it's, I would say the most difficult part is groomsmen. And I probably shouldn't say that before your wedding, Miguel, but they're there to party and have fun, and they don't want to be told where to stand and what to do and take photos for hours. And
I'm sorry, are you describing groomsmen right now or children? Because what is the difference? Like, that sounds like you were like hurting preschoolers.
But they want to party, Holly, and chug a beer.
They don't want me to stand, and they don't want me to know where to go and stand for. Did anyone bring snacks?
It's long.
Like, I'm sorry, man. Grow the fuck up. I'm sorry, I just got
you
so
say
mad.
snack. You say snack.
Yes.
Great story. You're reminding me. Early on in my career, before I knew better, I was setting up at a venue. It was time to take photos. I turn around. I was like, where are the groomsmen? And somebody goes, oh, they went down the street to get hot dogs. And I was like, excuse me. So yeah, it's like herding cats sometimes.
Yeah.
But
You're just dealing with children, clearly. Groomsmen. And I'm not saying all groomsmen,
Right? Not all.
No,
not all.
but
totally, 100%.
but there's enough that we've had to have this conversation. So that's
Oof.
Ay.
What's the most difficult part of the process?
Most difficult part of the process, I would say, is probably helping clients understand that on wedding day, you just need to let it go.
yeah.
And enjoy your day. I mean, especially when you've hired a planner. Sure, like those couples who don't have a planner or a coordinator or something, it's probably more difficult. But really just stepping back and saying, do I want to get myself stressed on my wedding day by trying to control everything? Or do I want to step back and let the pieces fall into place and enjoy it?
Yeah.
It goes by quick.
It's so important to really let it go, because any number of things could go wrong. But at the end of the day, you're still going to get married and there's still going to be a party. And so I like, is there anything that happened in a wedding that you've put together where you're like, this could have sent the bride or the groom into a tailspin, but luckily they did just go with the flow and it was okay?
I'm not going to lie. Normally we handle it before they know and we solve the problem.
Okay.
So I would say it's not too often where I even need to make a change of plans that the couple notices. But there have been plenty of times where if we weren't there, we might not have had a wedding. So vendors not showing up, vendors going to the wrong place, vendors not bringing the right amount of chairs or tables. I mean, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's things that, I mean, like you said, Holly, any number of things can go wrong. I know that something will go wrong. So we just plan to make sure that we have plenty of time to figure it out and get it solved before it's actually a problem.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It sounds like one of the biggest skill sets outside of obviously being creative and organized as a wedding planner is being a problem solver. Because I feel like there have been so many phone calls we've had where, sort of like what John is saying, like I can witness that, is he'll be like, well, this one thing or two cropped up, but I handled it this way. And it sounds like that's one of the biggest assets you need as a wedding planner, as a problem solver. Would you say that's correct?
Totally. And it's in so many different ways too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not only problem solving logistically, but one of the biggest things that we run into is like family drama and all the stuff that comes along with that. And there's only so much I can do with those types of things, especially on wedding day when you have everyone in the same room. You know, you might have blended families, whatever it might be, and kind of problem solving those things and giving advice to couples, trying to keep everyone, if not like totally happy, then at least, you know, have everyone content when you're dealing with parents or siblings or whatever it might be. And then, of course, there's just dealing with all the logistic stuff and vendors and making sure that the event is executed as perfectly as possible.
What sort of family drama have you come across? I didn't even think about that.
Plenty. More so that I would say almost every single wedding, there's some sort of unique element where we have to kind of help guide a couple on either how to speak to parents about things, whether it's like a disagreement or, you know, oftentimes couples don't realize how many people are on their initial invitation list. And so, you know, if you have a venue that you fall in with that can fit 150, and I'm using you as an example, Miguel, but you want to invite 200, you know, oftentimes you have to have that conversation with your parents and say, who are we going to cut? Or, you know, whoever might be paying for the thing or your partner. So that's a pretty common one, is how do we reduce that guest list if need be? And then, of course, there's another common one is religious ceremonies versus non-religious ceremonies. If you have blended families with different religions, that's one that's come up a lot this year for us. Or, you know, the couple is of different religions and the parents both want, you know, themselves represented in the day. Yeah. And then, you know, just honestly, you know, the blended family topic is so prevalent now.
Yeah.
So, you know, you have step parents who have been around since, you know, someone is 6 years old and they want to get involved, but birth parents don't want them involved. And it just makes things messy. And I would say, and I try and when I can have a conversation as respectfully and like tactfully with parents as possible, just kind of helping to try and guide them and remind them that this day is really stressful to begin with, and adding that extra stress onto your children, siblings, partners, whatever, can just make it even worse in terms of that stress level. It can be a lot. I don't know if if you have any experience with that, Holly, because you're saying, you know, I'm listening to you.
Oh my God. I'm just thinking about this because my cousin, who is 6 years younger than I am, she got married in like, I think it was 2014. So this was a while ago, obviously. But she had her mom and dad were never married, but they've both been in her life, obviously, since she was born. Well, her mom met her stepdad when she was like 3 or 4, and they did get married. So the stepdad has been a dad to her for her entire life. So I think, let's just say she was like 28 when she got married. Yeah. So she's had this stepdad in her life this whole time. And of course, her biological dad, who may or may not have been the best guy, but he's hanging out there all the time still. He's obviously been in her life the whole time. And he's like, well, I'm walking you down the aisle. And she's like, well, I'd really like stepdad. Also, can you both walk me down the aisle? And bio dad was like, no.
Oh.
He's not allowed.
What?
And sir, it's not your wedding.
The bride,
Oh
my
gosh.
cousin, is like, well, you're going to have to figure it out because it's my wedding and I want both of you to walk me down the aisle.
No.
It was such a mess leading up to the wedding, the rehearsal dinner. Yeah. People were arguing, like behind the scenes. Goodness. They did have the quote unquote class to like not fight in front of her, but they're going back and forth. The dad's girlfriend, who was like a caricature of like the Jersey Shore life
Oh.
was like, this is ridiculous. Like, it was so bad. Finally, the day of the wedding, they did both end up walking her down the aisle, but the dad was like huffy puffy about it. And I was just like, my poor cousin.
And she could feel that energy, I'm sure, the
Oh,
whole time.
Absolutely. And she's
Ugh.
like, well, I'm getting what I wanted, but was it worth it? But like,
Right.
yes, she was like going to fight for that. So I wish people, like you're saying, John, like I wish people would realize it's not about you. It's
Right.
about the people that are celebrating the marriage.
Mm.
And yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable for some people. Like, it is going to be uncomfortable. We already know this. There's so many families that are dysfunctional. I mean, hello, raise your hand if you don't have a dysfunctional family.
Right.
You probably don't know because you're the dysfunctional one. But anyway, like
True.
it's everyone deals with this, so it's going to happen in some capacity. But if the parents, especially blended families, especially, can at least maybe for that day put aside whatever it is and realize this is our child. Why am I trying to make him or her more uncomfortable?
Mm.
Mhm.
Oh, it was such a mess. I just brought back all these memories.
God, I can't imagine. That's so much extra stress on the day of.
I know, and you're trying to do everything
Dang.
else, and then
Ugh.
you got old dad trying to just squabble. Ah.
John, I'm curious, as we wind down here, Abe and I, and you can be 100% honest, on a scale of 1 being like super easygoing, 10 being every step of the way, it's been difficult. Where would you say we land on that scale?
Are you talking about your wedding or as clients?
Both.
I would say there is no wedding for 2022 that will be a 1. COVID has seriously changed the game.
Yes.
Right.
You two haven't been affected so much. I'll say that. We've been pretty lucky with your wedding, but the entire industry. I have vendors who used to email me back or text me back same day. I'm waiting 2 weeks to hear from them now.
Oh, whoa.
Just because people are burnt out, they're overworked, they're overscheduled because of the COVID, reschedulings, and then the new clients. So I would say that no actual project has been in a 1. That said, in terms of your wedding, Miguel, probably a 3, 4 tops. And I would say on average, probably a 3. We've probably had some like 5 moments, 6 moments, but things have gone very smoothly for you two. As far as clients, 1. You two are so easy.
Oh.
If I could have a Miguel and Abe for every wedding, and you warned me you were going to ask me that question, and I promise that's the truthful answer. Because every single step of the way, you two have been super trusting. You have been very open about the fact that you want my advice on things, that you trust me as a professional and what I do. I know, Miguel, you said that Holly might try and sneak that question and hoping to hear about your
I'm like, we
Groomzilla
want to
moment,
know about it. But I also said, I know Miguel. I don't think he was being crazy.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
They are so chill. They are so chill. Everyone has their things. Like, Abe is super passionate about his chicken wings, and he doesn't want to get his red bottom sandy. But I mean, if that's like the highest maintenance we're dealing with, that's easy.
Right.
So yeah, their wedding day, your wedding day, Miguel, is gonna I know be super super smooth. I'm really looking forward to it, and so is my team.
Oh, wonderful. That's good. I was really curious to see, because I mean, we've been working together now for over a year. And so there are moments that I'm sure I've forgotten that maybe stick out in your brain of where things got a little hairy. But it's good to know that we've been sort of, because like you said, we've been not knowing what to expect or, how this process was going to go. I mean, most people don't, because you maybe only go through 1 or 2 weddings in your life, but being able to have someone like you who, like, we never expected to be married, and so to have someone with your expertise and knowledge, but then also for us and for me personally, like having a gay man who sort of understands those sort of nuances to a wedding was very important for me. And so I appreciate you and everything you've done to sort of hold our hands as we have, gone through this process. So thank you.
Of course. Yeah. It's been so much fun. And it's funny. I don't get that many same-sex weddings, believe it or not. And you two were probably my first in years, a long time. And then you sort of like opened the floodgates. So I think like half of my weddings for spring and summer are same-sex couples.
Hey! Love it.
cool.
Yeah.
Love to see it. We'll be the first ones to break the dam.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I love it. So John, if someone is curious about your services and they want to link up with you, how do they find you?
Very easily. You can find me at John, JOHNC, the letter C for Campbell, weddingsplural.com, or John C. Weddings on Instagram.
Awesome. John, thank you so much. And I'm sure over the next week, we'll be in very close contact. And then you'll finally be able to meet Holly and Scotty at the rehersal.
I know. I'm looking forward to it.
I love it. Thank you, John. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Well, look at there.
Look at you, number one. Super easy going, you two.
Super easy.
I love it. I wanted to ask him who was the most difficult between Abe and I.
It was you.
I probably had the most questions because I'm curious about everything.
Yeah.
Scott, what's your social media?
At Scott Tavlin, SCOTTTAVLIN.
Miss Holly O'Connor.
Radio Holly on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram.
Are you nervous about officiating next week, Holly?
Yes, but not as nervous as I was prior to this weekend. Like prior to this weekend, I was just like, I don't know. I did a lot of research this weekend,
Good.
and I actually have the chunk all written out about what I'm going to say.
Oh, I love it.
There you go. You're set.
So after that, I feel calmer. I don't want to fuck it up. So
won't.
I just,
I'm just happy to have your presence up there. I love it.
I'm excited and I'm nervous, but I'm not as nervous as I was prior to like this past weekend.
Yes. My social media is Miguel Fuller. Please leave us a 5-star rating. If not, bleep off.
Oh.
Make sure for being a part of the Platypus Posse, you hop onto the Facebook group we have, Platypus Posse, Miguel and Holly Fam on Facebook. We'll see you next time.